Hello, grade 11 students. Welcome to our second semester for this school year. I am your teacher in Statistics and Probability, Teacher Jessa Valdivis. How are you, students? I hope you are well prepared and ready for our discussion this day. Get your modules and then your answer sheet or notebook for you to jot down our discussion today and for you to answer some question later on. So since this is the beginning of semester, so let's define first our subject. What is statistics and probability? So let's define statistics. So when we say statistics, it is a branch of mathematics and also the probability, a branch also of mathematics. But then statistics is a collection of quantitative data. So students, are you familiar with quantitative data? Who among you encounter this word? I know you encounter this when you are in grade 10 maybe. So, what is quantitative data? So, quantitative data is a number. So, it is a collection of number. And then when we say probability, it is a chances that a given event will occur. So, students, let's review first quantitative and qualitative so that in our discussion today, you will understand well about the given problems and situation. So I hope you will jot down and answer our activity as we go on in our discussion. So let's try answer this one. So first, identify the following data as quantitative or qualitative. So prepare your or get your notebook or answer sheet to answer this one. Since later on, I will show you the correct answer. So first, or the number 1, ID number of students. It is quantitative or qualitative variable. So, answer that one. Number 2, date of birth. Okay, students, it is quantitative or qualitative variable. Next, number 3, number of pages in a book. It is quantitative or qualitative variable. Next one, number 4, we have model of cell phone use. So, you students use model of cell phone just like Samsung, Oppo, Vivo, iPhone. So, there are a lot of models of cell phone nowadays. So, model of cell phone, it is quantitative or qualitative variable. The last one is we have daily allowance. So, I hope you have allowance with you, even though it is, you are just studying in your home. So, daily allowance. Is it quantitative or qualitative variable? So, don't cheat because you are just there in your houses. So, I will show you now the correct answers. So, number 1. Now, answer of number 1 is quantitative. So, when we say the ID number of students, it is quantitative. And then date of birth, it is quantitative. Why, ma'am? Why is it that date of birth and the ID number of students are qualitative? Because those are numbers. And then we have number 3, number of pages in a book. Is it quantitative or qualitative? So, it is obvious because number of pages in a book is talks about number itself. So, number 4, we have model of cell phone. So, model of cell phone, is it quantitative or qualitative? So, it is qualitative because it is in words. It is not number. So, how about number 5? Number 5 is the daily allowance. So, your daily allowance is in money. It is obvious, right? So, but some of you will say, Mom, my daily allowance is not money. It is just food. No, that is not daily allowance langga. So, our daily allowance obviously is in terms of number since that is money. So, money is in number. So, that is quantitative. So, I hope you enjoy our review about quantitative and qualitative. So, I know that you feel that review as very simple. So, let's proceed to our main topic this day. So I have here a given situation. Considering that you are a coach of known basketball team, you are aiming to get the championship in this year basketball league. You are thinking of the best performed players on the last basketball league. So, who among you are very interested or willing to play or have a habit to play basketball? So this is your time to shine. Okay? So let's proceed. So what information should be obtained to select the player your team needs? Next, how do you count or measure the information needed for making decision? Oh my God! So you think now that it is very difficult to find a good player. So later on, you will know on how to identify in choosing a good player in your team. So this situation or these questions will be answered later on. So let's proceed. First, our learning competency for this topic is, we have 3 learning competency. The first one is illustrate random variables. So I mentioned about variable a while ago. So number 2, or the letter B, is show willingness in doing group activities. Since it is pandemic nowadays, you are just in your home. So just imagine this one, that you are doing a group activity. So just self-activity. So number 3, or letter C, list down the observations of the identified random variables. I hope at the end of this discussion, these 3 learning competencies will be achieved by us. So let's proceed. Before that, students, what do you think is the title of our topic this afternoon? What do you think is our topic this afternoon based on our learning competency? Okay, so I know you have answer in your mind. You have answers in your mind. So our topic this afternoon or this day is about random variables and probability distributions. So I hope you are ready to learn and well prepared for this discussion. So random variables and probability distributions. So we have terms in this topic. So since we are just we are in the beginning of our subject, so let's learn about terms and definitions. So we have, first is the element, the second one is the variable, third is we have random variable, 4 is observation, number 5 discrete random variable, number 6 is we have continuous random variable, number 7 is histogram, number 8 is the probability distribution. So some of these terms are familiar with you, just like the element. So in your junior high school, you encounter element, the word element in your chemistry. But then let's have this term again this day. So let's proceed with the definition of terms. So let's start with the element. So students, what is element? So it is shown in our slide that element is the source of relevant information or data. So when we say element, it is a data. For example, in a class of 50, so there are 50 students in a class, 30 boys and 20 girls. So the students are the element in the class. The students are the teachers. So we are the element in our class or in the classroom. Next is observation. So when we say observation, this is it is numerical values associated with measuring the variable. So observation, just like when we say again in a 50 students in a classroom, including the teacher, 51 all in all. So when there is a visitor observing that class, so that visitor will observe that she can directly observe if all the students are present. She can directly count that classroom or that section are 50. There are 50 students and 1 teacher in that classroom. So there are 51 elements in that classroom. So that is his or her observation. So he or she can directly observe that in that classroom there are 51 elements. So it is very easy to observe something. If that observation don't need a microscope, but if that observation needs a microscope, so it is difficult because you need to get a microscope itself so that you can observe something. So that is another issue. So let's proceed. We have the variable. The variable, so when we say variable, it is written in small letter x. So anyway, students, since this is mathematics subject, so I know that you are well familiar that in mathematics, we always use letter x, commonly use letter x, but if so in Tagalog term, inaabusuhan natin ang letrang x sa matematika at letrang y. But then, so again, variable, it is written in small letter x. And then, it is the characteristic of or property of the element. So, when we say characteristic, so when we say, students, what are your characteristic anyway? So, since you are the element, your characteristic, for example, so you are pretty, so you are kind, so what else? Is it you are intelligent? Is that your characteristic? Or you are, what's that? You are obedient? So those are just an example of characteristics or property of the element. And then we have random variable. Okay, so since we have variable, we also have random variable. So when we say random variable, it is written in capital letter X. Capital letter X again. So when we say random variables, it is a variable being measured to produce numerical observations associated with the random outcomes of chance experiment. So when we say random, when your teacher told you that I want to pick 5 winners today, since these 5 winners will receive cell phone, I will pick randomly. So I know that some of your teacher use the word random. Pick randomly. So your teacher will prepare a box and then your names are in the box. So your teacher will pick randomly. So it is not chosen. So if you are, suerte in Tagalog, if you are suerte, so you are being picked randomly. So you are included in that randomly picked. So random variable has different types. So these are the discrete or continuous. So let's define first or learn what is a discrete variable. So when we say discrete random variable, it is obtained through counting. So the discrete random variable is obtained through counting. So I'm sorry since that is the G is being cut. I'm so sorry, students. So let's proceed with the continuous random variable. So continuous random variable is obtained through measurement. Remember the keyword. We have counting and measurement. Don't forget that one. So as we go on with our discussion and our examples and activities later on, you will not forget and you will not be bombarded with the difference between discrete and continuous random variable. So let's proceed to the other slide. Okay, so this is an activity. We need to classify the given variable as discrete or continuous random variable. I'm so sorry. So I already showed the answer. So we need... Okay, let's classify if the given is discrete or continuous random variable. So number 1, amount of time needed to boil a liquid. Remember the keyword while ago. So number 2, so again, students, jot down your answer in your notebook or answer sheet. Number 1, amount of time needed to boil a liquid. Number 2, number of gadgets in a household. Number 3, count of words encoded per minute. Number 4, sum of burgers sold in a day. So some of you are very fun in eating burgers. So what do you think is it? It is discrete or continuous? Number 5, lastly, is distance between two barangay. For example, your boyfriend is in barangay something, barangay A, and you are in barangay B. What is your distance? So, let's proceed with the answer since you have your answer with you already. So, I hope you are not cheating in your houses. So, our answer. So, number 1 is continuous. Why is it that it is considered as continuous? Amount of time. Is it counting or measuring? It is measurement. Number 2 is number. So it is discrete since this example is counting. Number 3 is count of words. Oh, the word is count. So obviously it is discrete. Number 4 is sum of burgers sold in a day. So you are the one who eating the burger. So that is discrete. And lastly, that is continuous since that is the distance. So it is a measurement. So now I know you learned something about discrete and continuous variable. So let's proceed with another slide. So for your activity for discrete and continuous variable, in your module with you, Module 1, Statistics and Probability, answer page 5, Activity 3 in your module. So that will be passed on Wednesday, since that is our schedule. And then, I hope you will not get mistaken because I have, it is very clear that discrete is counting and then continuous is measurement. So, God bless in answering that one. So, let's proceed with the probability distribution and histogram. Anyway, this probability distribution and histogram is the lesson 2 of module 1. That discrete, the random variable, the continuous variable is the lesson 1 of module 1. So, welcome to lesson 2, the probability distribution and the histogram. So, what is probability distribution? So, relax and chill since we're going to define first the probability distribution. So, it is describe the dispersion of values of a random variable. So, students, it is dispersed, being dispersed, dispersion of values. So, remember the keyword is dispersion of the values. So, highlight that one in your notebook. So, next is probability distribution describes all the possible likelihoods. So when we say likelihood, possible likelihoods that a random variable can take at a given range. There is a range. For example, 1 to 10. So the range is 1 to 10. And then likelihoods. So when we say likelihoods, the synonym of this is the similarity. So their likelihood. So similarity. And then, why is it, mom, that there is a word histogram? What's the purpose of histogram anyway? So, histogram is graph, is a graph. So, are you familiar with, do you know how to graph a linear equation? I hope you will, you don't forget what is the difference of the graph of a linear equation, polynomial, and then the quadratic equation. So, don't forget that one because those graph is very important when you proceed in college. And those graph is very important when you proceed when you encounter subject which is higher than statistics and probability. So you will encounter calculus, set theory, or whatever mathematics subject it is. So we have different types of graphs. So in your junior high school, you encounter linear, quadratic, and polynomial graph. And then this time, let's encounter histogram. So histogram, it is like a bar graph. So bar graph, but has no spaces in between the bars. So you will identify later on the difference between bar graph and the histogram. Since their difference is, the histogram is no spaces. So, yan lang ang difference nilang dalawa. So, let's proceed to the next slide. So, example for probability distribution. So, this time, number 1 example. So I hope you are ready for this example, students. So number 1, just read what I am reading also. So this is the question. Suppose you are to test 3 random eggplants. Eggplants, remember? From a harvest, see if there are worms in it. Yuck! So may worm ang eggplant. So you want to find out the number of eggplants attacked by worms. So use W to represent if there is a worm in an eggplant and N if there is not. So let's determine if may worm ba ang eggplant or wala. So use W for worm in an eggplant and then N for there is non-worm or there is no worm in an eggplant. So this is the table. Okay, so this is our representation. So possible outcomes. When we say N, so 3N, no worm in an eggplant. So, yun nga, walang worm sa eggplant. So, first possible outcome. And then, since, do you observe that, are you confused that there are 3 letters? We have 3 letters representation for possible outcomes because we need to test 3 random eggplants. If that 3 will become 4, so we have 4 possible outcomes. That N will be N. So since that is 3, so just 3N. Next possible outcome, we have NW. No or none. Then we have worm with worm. Then the third one is NWN. Number 4, NWW. Number 5, WNN. Number 6, WNW. Number 7, WWN. And number 8, that is WWW. 3 W's, I'm so sorry. So, I don't know why is it that the last third W is being vanished. I'm so sorry, but that is WWW. So, for our next table, as part of the table, so value of random variable X. So again, your random variable is in capital letter X. So our random variable is the number of eggplants with worm attacks. So now, in first possible outcome, so it is 0 because none. Next one, it is obvious that is 1. So once only. Next, number 3, we have 1 since only 1 W. Number 4, NWW2. Number 5, 1 only, WNN. Number 6, WNW, we have 2. And number 7 is WWN. So we have 2. Lastly, we have triple W, so 3. So students, based on the table being shown, it is clearly shows that there is a total of 8 possible outcomes with 4 distinct possible values of X. So let's proceed with the other table. So in this table, there are 8 possible outcomes and only 1 of them had no worm at all. So as you observe, the first column is the number of eggplants with worm attacks. So the representation of this, when we talk about random variable, it is X, capital letter X. Then the other column is the probability or P of X. So the first part is 0 since there are 8 possible outcomes and only 1 of them had no worm at all. So the probability that we shall assign is 1/8. Next is we have 1 since 3 of them have exactly 1 eggplant attacked by worms. So the probability is 3/8. And then we have 2 since 3 of them have 2 eggplants attacked by worms. So the probability is 3/8. Next is we have 3. Since 3 eggplants, only 1 of them had all 3 eggplants attacked by worms. So, our probability is 1 over 8. Remember students that our probability will not exceed the number 1 since 1 is equal to 100%. So, if your answer is 1.3, 1.01, your answer is correct, is wrong, since our answer in solving a probability question is always equal to 1 or less than 1. So don't forget that reminder. And then this is the histogram. That probability distribution, this table is an example of probability distribution or probability mass function. So let's graph this table. So we have the histogram. So the purpose of histogram is to graph the given data of a random variable. So this is an example of histogram. So we have 3 over 8, then this is the 2 over 8, then we have 1 over 8, then this is 0. So since the first 0 is to 1 over 8, so we have 0 to 1 over 8. And then we have the next one is 1 to 3 over 8. That's why we have 1, 3 over 8 here. And then we have 2, and then 2, then the probability is 3 over 8. So lastly, we have 3, then its probability is 1 over 8. So the 0 and 3 have the same probability, which is 1 over 8, and then 1 and 2 is, its probability is 3 over 8. So students, the horizontal part of your graph is the outcome, your possible outcomes, and then the vertical part here is your probability. So don't forget or don't interchange the outcomes and the probability. Next, it is your time to shine. It is the activity time. So activity for probability and distribution. So we have one activity. We have the question is, or the situation is this one. 3 voters are asked whether they are in favor of online education. Each voter's response is recorded as yes or no. So obviously, let O be the random variable representing the number of yes votes that occur. So our first question is, or our first task is letter A, complete the table below. So this is the table. Then, now letter B, make a table with the number of yes votes and assign a probability values in each. So you can rewind our discussion later on so that you will have a guide in answering this activity. Lastly is the letter C is graph the distribution in the form of histogram. So anyway, you cannot graph if you don't have the answer in letter B. If you don't know how to make a table. So if you don't make a table, you will not able to graph, or you will not able to make a histogram, since histogram will base on letter B. So good luck, and I hope you will answer this activity, since this activity will be passed on Wednesday. Okay, so a while ago when I introduced to you this subject, so I have a situation about choosing a member in a basketball league. So in this table, it will help what we call coach or a team leader to identify a good player. So we have players A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So based on this table, that coach will able to identify a very good player so that he can he will choose that players. For example, the player A. So that coach will choose player A since player A get a points of 5. But 5 is the lowest here at 4. So it is obviously that the coach will not choose player 5 since player 5 only gain 5 points. So I hope this table will help you, coach. And then students, in making a table, so you need also to, in making distribution, probability distribution, you need to also, when it in terms of reality, you need also to consult someone or ask somebody about the background of given a person, a background of a person. But in this situation, this is just an example so that you will learn or apply this later on when you are a coach, a teacher, or a team leader. So number 1, do the following data will help you in choosing player that you need for your team. So is it helpful for you, coach, team leader, or teacher? So why? So you need to answer that one in your notebook or the activity sheet. Number 2, how this following data obtained? So I know you can answer that one because it is discussed a while ago. And then for your additional activities, for the application in your activity notebook, try to compare the observations under each random variable. What situation? That situation in choosing a basketball player. So you will base your answer in that table. So lastly, since this is the lesson 1 and lesson 2 of module 1, and the module 1 covers lesson 1, 2, and 3. We still have lesson 3 remains. So study in advance the definition and formula of the following term of discrete probability distribution. So we have the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation. Since by our next episode or next topic is about this one, solving mean, variance, and standard deviation. So prepare your calculator. For the information of everybody, this video is just a supplementary learning delivery mode for learners amidst COVID-19 of Pangantucan National High School. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening and jotting down everything, the important keywords of statistics and probability, the introduction, lesson 1 and lesson 2. Thank you and see you for our next episode. God bless us all.